Hell Let Loose is a team-based multiplayer first-person shooter set in World War II, where two teams of 50 players duke it out. In this 2022 review, I will bring you up to date on the game and let you know if it's worth playing. If you are interested in picking this up on PC, then check out my Nexus store at nexus.gg/pterodactyl, where I handpick games that I think you may be interested in, and any purchase helps to support this channel. On this channel, I have plenty of gameplay videos, tips, and guides for Hell Let Loose, so if you are interested in picking it up, subscribe so you can check out those videos. Hell Let Loose is a PvP focused shooter that is more hardcore than something like Battlefield or Call of Duty, but more casual than something like Arma or Squad. It sits right in between them as it has hardcore and casual elements. I would say though that the game does lean more towards the hardcore side. Weapons in Hell Let Loose are really deadly. Generally, rifles such as the M1 Garand and Kar98K will one-shot you to the chest up to 200 meters. Automatic rifles such as the STG-44 are one-shot up to 100 meters, while SMGs are two-shot up to 50 meters. Also, a headshot with any weapon at any range is an instant kill. You also get this really satisfying ding noise on any headshot. So pretty much every weapon in Hell Let Loose is usable and effective. Well, maybe not the sidearms, but they are good to use in a pinch. Since there are currently 3 factions in the game, the Americans, Germans and the Soviets, there are a good amount of weapons available and each faction only has access to their weapons. So you won't get something like in Battlefield 5 where the Allies would be using German weapons and the devs do keep adding in new weapons for them. Update 11, which was the latest update before this review, added in the trench gun for the Americans and 2 variants of the FG-42 for the Germans. The automatic weapons do have a bit of recoil to them, but they are all quite controllable and satisfying to use. With how the guns feel, they do kind of feel like a traditional first-person shooter. They don't have extra sway or like a delay to their movement when you look left and right in something like Squad or Postscriptum. It's very tight and responsive. Hell Let Loose uses roles to determine which equipment you take into battle. If you've played a good Battlefield game, then it's similar to the class system, but there's a lot more. In Hell Let Loose, you have the commander who oversees the battle and can call in bombing runs, spawn in tanks and use other abilities. The squad leader leads a squad and you have to join a squad to actually be able to play, unless you're the commander. Rifleman, assault, automatic rifleman, medic, support, machine gunner, anti-tank, engineer, tank commander, crewman, spotter and sniper. So a big choice, and each of these roles will get access to either a unique weapon or piece of equipment, such as the machine gunner. They're the only one who can get a machine gun, anti-tank gets a launcher, the medic can revive, and engineer can build stuff. These roles are separated into 3 squad types: infantry, armor, and recon. In the infantry squads, there can only be 1 person of any role in that squad, so for example 1 assault, but there can be any number of riflemen. It just helps to balance things out and to make sure that many roles are used, and you do need a varied squad to be effective, and you can be very effective with every role. The armor squads are led by the tank commander and the other spots are filled by the crewman. The recon squads only have 2 roles, the spotter and the sniper. Also, there can only be 2 recon squads per team, so you will not get a spam of snipers in any game. Just 2 on each team, which is a good balanced choice. Now, armor play in Hell Let Loose isn't a full simulation, but it's not casual like Battlefield. The tanks are slow, hulking beasts, and each tank has its characteristics and armor properties like weak points. A good tank crew can be a monster on the field, holding down a control point by themselves and being a massive nuisance. There are also other vehicles in the game such as a supply truck, transport truck and half-tracks. Hell Let Loose has 2 game modes, Warfare and Offensive. Warfare is the more default mode where to win you either need to control the most control points when the time runs out or capture the enemy's last point. Only 2 points are active during the game, the most forward point you control and the enemy's most forward point. This helps to keep the combat focused around these 2 points instead of something like Battlefield where you could have 4 or more active points and everyone is just running around like headless chickens. One thing that Hell Let Loose does is randomize the control points. The There are 15 points on each map, but only 5 will be active. This helps to keep each game fresh. The offensive mode is pretty much attack v defense. Combat in Hell Let Loose is brutal and very immersive. The games can get very intense with people everywhere using VoIP calling out for help or enemy positions, grenades being thrown out, explosions, bullets whizzing past you, your squad dying around you, bodies exploding into pieces. Hell Let Loose completely nails the feeling of combat and how deadly it is. When you're in game, you best stick with your squad and communicate effectively. Hell Let Loose has a fortification system, and these are buildable things like walls, a bunker, barbed wire, tank traps and more. These can really change the flow of battle, and if you build up an area, blocking tank access, building more cover, it's going to make a big impact. These cost supplies to build, and most of these fortifications can be upgraded. You can also build resource nodes, and these nodes generate resources which the commander can use for their abilities. These include bombing runs, strafing runs, and spawning in vehicles. Resources are very important to this game, and you will hear the call in most games you play to get more resource nodes down. But in a nutshell, the gunplay in Hell Let Loose is very solid, the combat is immersive and brutal, and the tank play is also really good. Hell Let Loose has some pretty nice looking graphics. While not on par with some of the big developer games, they are good. The textures are well done, the character models, faces, weapons and vehicles are all done at a high quality. They are also pretty historically accurate, though a couple of changes have been made to the M1 Garand and I believe the Thompson to make them a bit better to use. One thing that is odd with the character faces is while they look good, they are a bit lifeless. They don't blink or change their expressions at all. You may not notice it while playing, but if you're on a transport truck, you definitely will. There are different weather effects and times of day for the maps in the game, and some of them can look stunning, especially when you get sunlight coming in through the trees. I can't wait to see what the night maps are going to look like in Hell Let Loose because they are coming. Explosions also look awesome, especially the bombing runs, but one thing the game has suffered with is performance. Though with each update that comes to the game, they do improve the performance a bit. Hell Let Loose is a very immersive game, and the sound is a big part of that. All of the guns sound awesome, and during the game's development, some of the guns have been getting new and improved sounds. Honestly, when you're in combat with all the weapons firing off, explosions and sounds of planes overhead, the bombing runs, artillery, the tanks, it all just adds up into this crazy sounding experience that sucks you right in. At the time of review, there is cosmetic DLC for the game. They are priced at £3.99 or your local equivalent, and each piece of DLC is usually a uniform. So comparing these prices to pretty much any other full price game or even free to play games, they are less than half the price of them. Usually you will see cosmetic uniforms for like £10. More factions are coming to the game, with the British being planned as the next one. In an interview, the devs have said that the British will be a chargeable piece of DLC, but that you will still be able to play them even if you don't purchase it. There will be some sort of restriction in place for people who do not purchase the faction. I just don't know what that will be. So let's touch on the 2022 roadmap. So from what you're seeing here, they've already added in the FG42, the trench gun, some improvements to the optics, the Panzer IV, and let's touch on the rest here. But you can see the British are coming. I did mention them earlier, along with the night maps. We're getting new vehicles, the M4 Sherman, Jeeps, a Flak Panzer. Also more structures are coming, yeah, especially for the Soviets. Deployable flat cannons, mortars, a heavy MG, so it won't be like a carryable weapon, you'll have to place it down. Party system, that's for the PC. More improvements to the visual effects, the sound effects, optimization improvements, new commander abilities, so there's going to be unique commander abilities per faction, stats page, new loadouts for all the roles, cosmetics, death animations, and continued bug fixing. If you look at the game's Kickstarter page, you can see that after the Soviets, the British are coming, so we've already got that. And it looks like that with the British, it's going to be based on Operation Market Garden. But after the British, based on Kickstarter, they're going to be bringing in the Canadians. And then after the Canadian forces, it's the Japanese. So the Pacific is planned to come to Hell Let Loose. So in conclusion, is Hell Let Loose worth playing? Hell yes it is. Hell Let Loose is the best World War II shooter that you can play. It's miles ahead of Battlefield and Call of Duty in terms of gunplay, team play, and immersion. The game has made big improvements during its development in every area, and with the planned additions coming to the game, new factions, maps, we're getting night maps as well, and weapons, this game is just getting better and better. If you're interested in picking this up on PC, then check out my Nexus store at nexus.gg/pterodactyl, where I handpick games that I think you may be interested in, and any purchase helps to support this channel. If you want to see more videos for Hell Let Loose, including gameplay, tips, I've got new 2022 beginners guides and resource guides and a performance guide coming out, so subscribe for those. So thank you guys for watching.